Hi everybody, Scout Crafty here again. It's Wednesday and we have a couple projects to do. A lot of you enjoyed the last video we did on Monday of the fabrication of the screwdriver, and I thought we would do another type, similar, but something different. I'm trying to get to the point where a lot of you might try to attempt to customize and take an old tool and make something cool out of it, or your own tool, more or less, you know? And that's where a lot of fun comes from. I know you enjoy watching it. I'm sure you would enjoy doing it too. We also have a restoration to do today, so let's get started. Okay, to start today's program, you remember we made this lovely screwdriver on Monday, and now I said, I'm just trying to think, how could we make a screwdriver that kind of everybody could get on board with, you know, with minimal material and machining and whatnot. So, you know, I buy these extensions, these number 2 Phillips extensions on Amazon. They run 10 extensions for $15, so they're $1.50 each, but they're really good. Brand new again, so you don't have to worry about, you know, dealing with the tip. So, and this is good for locking it in. So you got this piece here, a piece of Delrin, and a golf ball. A golf ball. What an ingenious thing to use, you know. These are cheap, readily available. And same thing, we could make a, let's do it. Okay, here's where we're at so far. What I did is I took this piece of Delrin about 2 5/8 inches long, and I drilled a 1/4 inch here for this shaft here. You can see that's a nice fit. And on this down 1 inch over here, I drilled it at this diameter here with the points, but a press fit. So you can see here, this will be pressed in. As you can see, I'm pressing a little bit and you can't turn it. That'll help with retention. Okay, so that will be in here. Now we're just going to turn this contour on the lathe. Okay, here we are over at the woodworking lathe, the Nova DVR. And what I did a while ago, I bought a 3-jaw chuck. This is a machinist chuck, okay? And now what I'm going to tell you now is something that's very unorthodox, but I got this machinist chuck with a Morse 2 taper, which fits in here. And what I do is I will place, now there's a drawbar. What a drawbar is nothing more. Here, I have 2 different sizes. A drawbar is nothing more, I made this here, than a threaded rod that screws into the back of here, and it will hold this in to here so it doesn't slip, okay? Now, what you do is you would take this here, you always make sure there's nothing in there, put it in here, and attach the drawbar through the other side. Where the drawbar goes through, you can see this is the spindle, and it will go through here, and it will tighten in, and then that's how it tightens up, and that's, the chuck won't fall out. Now, I know there's probably some machinists out there, they're cringing, like with a lot of things I do. But I want you to understand, they won't cringe in a minute when I explain why I did this. It's not for turning anything heavy duty, obviously, because you have all this hangout. You don't, anytime you want to have, remember we always talk about rigidity being so important. You would want this close in tight. You would want this ideally to screw onto here, but I can't get a chuck that screws on these threads. But whatever the case may be. So now, what I use this for is for turning small shafts, because I don't have any other chuck that'll hold it. And if I wanted to turn a small shaft to paint it or something like that, because this lathe goes down very low in RPMs. But here's another one that I'll use for. Now I want to straighten this out. I want to get some nice curves on here, and to do it, I'm going to use this, and I'll show you. Now, here's the chuck key. We're going to open this. This is our piece that we're going to put in the end of the golf ball. We'll put it in here. Okay, we'll tighten it up against there. Now, that's tight. Now, just to secure it even more, we have a live center in the tailstock. We'll put that against it here. Tighten this up. Okay, now we have a very rigid, that's very rigid. Now we're going to attack this with woodworking tools to get the contour we want, because it's Delrin and we could do that. Okay, let's look at the setup here. We have our steady rest in here nice and tight. We're using a wood turning tool here with more of a scrape. You don't want anything with too much of an angle on here because it'll grab the Delrin. We're going to place this here so that we're center height in here. And you see how this is resting nicely on the steady rest. I got my thumb holding it down. And we're just going to slide this gently across to get the contour we want, because it's very difficult to do with the metalworking lathe. You know, I can even get in a little bit over here if I wanted to, but we'll clean up those lines using this. So let's see what that looks like. Okay, this is 500 RPM. It's a little bit slow. We're going to kick it up to 815 RPM. Watch what happens when we address the tool. You see here? And we're just going to follow it down. You see what a nice finish we can get with using woodworking tools on Delrin. And now I will get the contours that I want using this. Now, another nice thing a lot of people don't realize is Delrin can be filed and sanded. Here we are, we're using a sanding screen. This is the sanding mesh that I use for woodworking. You can see here, I can get in here and get rid of those fine lines and really make these contours the way I want them to be, that, you know, to be very, feel good on the hand, and get rid of any high spots or whatever. And you would just go down, just like you would with working with wood, you would go down in grits, or actually up in grits, until you get to like a 600 or 800, and then this would come out like glass. You could even polish it. You can see there. Okay, here's our pre-assembly stage, and you can see here we have everything done up more or less. And now what we're going to do is we're going to JB weld everything. We're going to pass this through here. You see it tightens up as we get it through the tip here. This will be pressed into there. Pressed in. You can, you know, you don't need a lot of pressure, but we can press in with the JB weld. Will be all in there. And then when that's flush pressed in with that, then we're going to press this into here again with JB weld all in there. And you see the ridges there to hold. Those ridges will hold the JB weld from popping out, and that will be, let's see what it looks like when it's done. Now we're here with everybody's favorite, the dake, and you can see we have this set up. We pressed it in here. It's not a lot of pressure, but just enough to keep it tight, and we'll leave it there for a whole day. Okay, while that screwdriver is setting up in the dake over there, it's funny, the other day I ran into a good friend of mine, Bob Ferris. You might know him, Bob, and Flamingo Frank from the Connecticut chapter. We're trying to get together maybe a tool club for Connecticut or something. You know, maybe we can do one in Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut. Get a couple tool clubs going, you know, like we have out the island here. We're going to be meeting up there on the 27th of this month. And, you know, Bob's got a great wife, I'll tell you. You know, Bob's out there looking for tools, and I say, "Oh, what are you looking to pick up?" He goes, "You know, my wife loves when I buy an old tool." Isn't that great? Isn't that something? I know a lot of you guys are rolling your eyes right now going, "Boy, there's a keeper, huh?" Nothing like a woman that enjoys when you bring home an old rusty tool. That is a keeper right there. So special shout out to Bob's wife. Speaking of old rusty tools, I got an old pocket knife here that I just wanted to do. Let's get right to that real quick. Okay, what you're looking at here is a nice old Sabre knife from Japan. And this is, you know, an inexpensive, what I got it for, knife, and again, these were probably inexpensive when they sold too, but it's a really nice knife. It's an electrician's knife, okay? And what an electrician's knife is, it has a standard blade, and you can see here, this was well taken care of. And then you have a kind of a screwdriver here, a screwdriver. This is not sharpened here, or it's not sharpened enough that it really is, it has a small edge here, but nothing that you would write home about. But you can see here, got a little bit of rust. Another perfect example for a vapor rust. All these pocket knives, anything that you have that has spaces that are hard to get into, a vapor rust is the way to do it. And let me tell you a little bit something about a vapor rust. Now, one of the reasons I like a vapor rust, as you know, is they do sponsor some of our fellow YouTube creators. So, you know, you're going to sponsor us, we're going to buy your product. That's the way it works. So anyway, I took a little out of the gallon jug that I bought, and I put some in a jar. And what I do, I have plastic over the cap. See, the cap and plastic, and that keeps it sealed. And I will use this until it gets pretty much blackened out. But this is a perfect size for like small items like this knife here. And I'll open it up slightly, and I'll leave it in here. And then I'll put it over on the furnace, because this does work much faster when it's warm. Okay, another tip. When it's warmed up, this fluid works much faster. Also, another thing to remember is that this will work much faster than vinegar or any kind of citric acid or any other kind of acid. This works like in half the time. So if you're going to use this in vinegar or anything like that, you have to leave it in for a minimum 24 hours, you know, for that acid to do it. But with this, it works, you know, 6 hours or so. You could start seeing a real difference. So let's pop this in there and see what it looks like when we come back. Remember what this looks like. Okay, now this is 6 hours in warm vapor rust, and you can see what a nice job it does to get rid of most of the rust. Now, again, remember I was telling you about staining. A vapor rust won't get rid of that staining. Nothing will, because you have to go below. Same with the pitting. You see the pitting there? There's no way that, you know, a vapor rust can get rid of that. It just gets rid of the rust, you know, which, and ideally inside there. See, that's a pain to get rid of. So now that's all gone. All that rust in the liners are all gone. So that's why that really shines, that product. Now we're going to take it and we're going to address this with a very fine belt. And over here we don't need anything, just maybe the fiber wheel. And we won't do anything really until these scales dry out. It's going to take a day or so for the scales to dry out, because you have to rinse it with water. So let's address the metal. Now, you know my favorite part. Remember what this Japanese Sabre knife looked like before we started. And we're calling this project done. This was just basically a cleanup, and it came out very nicely. You could see here what we did. You could see the scales. Look at the scales, you know. I buffed them out with wax, and the scales came out real nice. And then the blades. Now, again, there was some pitting on the blades you will never get out, but I think I did a respectable job on it. I don't like to sharpen them too much, but I did get a little bit of a cut. I always cut myself when I'm playing with knives. It's just the way it is. And here's the other blade, you could see. So they do look nice. And again, all around the knife is polished out, and just a beautiful knife now. As far as usefulness goes, it is a nice carry knife, and it has very much like a Barlow kind of feel. And let me show you the sharpness of it. Again, I don't like to make my knives too sharp, but you could see we did a nice job on that with the paper test. And, you know, it closes, it snaps tight, as you could see here. You know, it snaps tight, so it's a nice knife. And again, knife cleanups are very, very rewarding. And there are a lot of guys on YouTube that are real good at doing this. Me, I just goof around, but I do like to clean up a knife every once in a while, especially when you get the inside nice and clean and rust-free. So, and there it is, the name, Sabre, Japan. So, nice little knife. That one's in the can. Now, getting back to the screwdriver project, remember what it looked like when we started. And we're calling this project done. I enjoyed this one too. And it's a lot easier than turning the aluminum, like on this one here. But you could see it's a little different look to it. It's very kind of close to the vessel. You know, the vessel's a little bit smaller in the hand, but I have to tell you, it's, again, palm around, and there's it. Now, if I had to, again, this is a prototype, so you can, you know, you work it, you try it, you say, what would I like different? I think I would like this swell to be just a little bit bigger, but I was working with 3/4 inch Delrin, so that's the biggest I can get this swell. I'd have to go to the next size up, and the next size up is a lot bigger, a lot more waste, you know, so you try and do as little waste as you can. But here you see a little bit of knurling on here, okay, a little bit of knurling, and again, if you, and then to press forward. Let's try it out. It looks really cool, right? Okay, we're over at the test board here, and you can see how we have this in here. And first of all, I gotta say one thing. These particular extensions, these Amazon extensions, the tip is absolutely fantastic, you know, so I like them. I've used these before, so the tip itself is great. Okay, so now you're starting with a good tip. Now we're putting this in here. Look at this. It's just so comfortable. The golf ball, again, as we did it with the file handle, remember the file handle, the golf ball is just very comfortable, and it's got those dimples in the hand. So when you turn it like this, so I think on the next one, I'm just going to bring this back a little bit, but I'm telling you, this is so nice. It works so good. Again, you got that pressure in here. You can spin it out like this. Really loving it. I think you might want to make one of these. Works fantastic. You know, one of my favorites. And one point I wanted to point out is the reason you can get away with this kind of stuff with a Phillips, because it's not Phillips aren't a high torque application screw head, whereas a slotted screw, you're going to have more torque and things like that. So this size is really, really good. Okay, so in closing, that was a little midweek episode with a restoration and a fabrication. Let me know what you think about the golf ball screwdriver, and we're going to try some other models, and I think it's a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying that. So I hope you have a great day. See you again on Friday. Take care now. Bye-bye.